Welcome back to this video series on how to make a good PBL. Again, my name is Austin Farrell, and in this video, we are covering lesson plans. In the previous videos in this series, we discussed the four fundamental foundational elements of a good PBL: how to create a strong driving question, how to create a product map, and how to use that product map to find opportunities to incorporate sustained inquiry and critique and revision into your PBL unit. In this video, we're going to take that product map and use it to begin filling out our lesson plans. We are talking about lesson plans at a monthly overview level. While I use daily lesson plans, in this video, we are going to discuss how to use our product map to create a monthly overview, which will then make our weekly and daily lesson planning a lot easier. Another important thing to note is that these monthly overviews should be completed before you begin your PBL unit. The monthly overview exists to make your daily and weekly planning a lot easier. And that is because PBL units tend to incorporate more in classroom and out of classroom activities. And so it becomes very important to manage your time and have the foresight to make whatever school request you might need to make or plan for different classroom activities. So here's an example of a monthly overview that we would use for our PBL unit. Now, just to remind us of the PBL unit we're focusing on, we are discussing the driving question of, as clothing designers, what is the most effective winter blanket we can create to protect homeless citizens in Metro Detroit from the cold? The product map we created in our public product video is below, and we also highlighted in our videos on sustained inquiry and critique and revision different opportunities to incorporate sustained inquiry and critique and revision into this product map. So we are now going to use this to figure out a general monthly overview for our PBL unit. The column we want to focus on in this template is over on the left-hand side. In this column, we see each week of the month. And in each box, we are just writing down a particular step in our product map that we want to accomplish during that week. In the first week, we can see that we have an introduction event, which is an event just to get students excited about this PBL unit. Following that, we have the first draft of the public product. I want to take a minute to talk about this because oftentimes we can feel that students don't have enough information to begin their product yet, to begin working on their final product or project. However, students come into the classroom with prior knowledge, and we want to encourage them in using their prior knowledge, engaging their prior knowledge, and also recognizing that this is a process built on revision. Okay, so while their first draft may look very bare bones and not have a clear understanding, that is perfectly fine because we want them to track their change in understanding. So I recommend within the first week or two, absolutely having the students start working on their public product or final project so that they can really use their prior knowledge and see what it is they know and try to begin working on the product. In the following weeks, we are then taking pieces of our product map and putting them into our monthly overview. Here we have an opportunity for sustained inquiry and critique and revision, which come from the first two steps of our product map. In the following week, we have more opportunities for critique and revision. Particularly, we see choose new materials, okay, for their blanket, which are the next set of steps in our product map. Now, it is at this step that I want to highlight the purpose of the product map. The product map is a way for us to go through that process of sustained inquiry and critique and revision while making sure we are on track to complete our public product. So if we look at our product map, after we have done these first four steps, the next two are sewing our blanket and then we have our final product of the blanket. However, in the next week, I actually have us doing sustained inquiry and critique and revision again. That is because after we chose our materials, I introduced another heat transfer characteristic, right? I introduced another opportunity for sustained inquiry. And again, that is the purpose of the product map. We need to complete all of these steps to have our final product, but the product map is not in and of itself a chronological set of steps. Okay, we might go through a couple of these steps and then go back to the beginning, or we may go through a couple of these steps and then jump to another set of steps, depending on how extensive your product map is. But the product map is meant for us to cycle through it before we get to our final product. We just know that we have to complete all of these steps before we complete our final product, or in order to complete our final product. So as you can see, we had sustained inquiry, critique, and revision. Again, we have another opportunity for critique and revision. And then in the final week, we have our final product. So the left-hand side is where we are plotting the steps of our product map into our monthly overview. Now you can also use this template to get a little more specific. And I find this to be very helpful. As we're identifying the large parts of our product map that need to be completed each week throughout the PBL unit, we can also use this template to get a little more specific as far as how are we accomplishing those tasks in our product map. For example, there are multiple ways that we can do our sustained inquiry. Okay, we could do reading. We could have an expert come into the classroom. All right, we could go on a field trip. All of these are ways of gathering new information. So what I personally like to do is on the columns to the right, where we see the days of the week, I like to identify which large scale activities am I planning on having occur for this particular part of the product map. So maybe during this week for sustained inquiry, I actually want us to have an expert come into the classroom. Okay. All right. Maybe I want us to go on a field trip. Okay. And again, that field trip may be a 2-day process. We may go on the field trip and then we have to process the information that we got from that field trip. Okay. But with that said, again, this allows me to begin to work on planning and taking the next necessary steps I need to have these things done. Who do I need to contact in order to have an expert come into my classroom? Where do I want the students to go? Okay, this is why a monthly overview is very helpful to fill out before you begin your PBL unit, because it helps you with your pre-planning.